Hey, Deb, let's do this thing and go live. Let me talk to the audience here for a second. Um,
Sounds great.
in, in today's complex society, understanding the emotional and mental well being of our youth is paramount. Today's guest is Deb Kelly, the visionary grandma on a mission behind Life Ingredients. It's a groundbreaking program designed to prioritize heart based education for children. With her rich background, including roles as a marketing director, her success in developing $10 million annual sales for her family business, and her hands on experience teaching life ingredients with the Tahoe school community, Deb has proven her dedication to shifting paradigms in education. Her efforts underscored by meaningful collaborations such as Reno's Ronald McDonald House make her a leading voice in creating a compassionate future. Today, we are privileged to delve into her insights, learn about her innovative approach, and understand why this mission is critical for every parent, educator, community leader, child, and everyone else who's out there learning, doing, being. And we're going to have a good old time with it. I think that's what's going to happen today. So sit back and get ready to learn. Here we go. Hey, everybody, welcome to A Funny Way of Looking. We're here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You can find us on the internet over at afunnywayoflooking.com. You can get onto our newsletter and learn more about our guest. Deb is going to be there in a week or two. And just follow along with all the cool things that we do. Deb, how are you today?
I am great. I am so happy to be here with you. I'm enjoying our conversations we've been having, and it's going to be a fun day.
I'm going to ask you the toughest question of the day, and that is, who do you want to do a shout out to?
Well, of course, my grandchildren.
Uh,
I have 8 wonderful grandchildren, and they're all athletes, and I have one that is a pro-am motocross guy, another football player who's heading to states, and a soccer players and gymnast, and they are just an amazing group. And my youngest one just started playing basketball, and she's awesome. So that darling grandchildren, you just can't stop
I
loving
love
them.
that. Shout out to the grandkids from Grandma on a Mission. So, let's
Absolutely.
let's talk about your stuff. Let's talk about what you do and why you do it. So basically, I want to know. Uh, Tell me the story of Life Ingredients. How did it get started? And you aim to shape a more compassionate world. Tell us how Life Ingredients is doing that.
Well, I started Life Ingredients when my oldest granddaughter was in kindergarten, and it was just, it wasn't Life Ingredients then. It was just, I think kids need to learn how to calm down. And the
Hmm.
reason I believe that is because I have that issue myself. I probably could be the poster girl for, I don't follow those letters, but ADHD or whatever it is,
Uh-huh.
I have a real, focus on trying to stay focused. That is, but it didn't come till I was later on, and I realized that if we could teach kids at a young age how their thoughts work and how to calm them down, and then to be on purpose. That's being
Uh-huh.
aware and having clarity. That was really important. So being a grandmother, I asked some of the classrooms my grandkids were in. I said, "Could I come in and share these ideas?" And that was back quite a while ago. And I just then decided to put together a website and resources for parents and children to learn how to create a better wellness, a feeling of well-being. When I work with the kids at the end, I always say, "Be well," because that's
Oh,
where we are. We're naturally in that place of wellness, but our world kind of fogs that out and we become robotic and we lose track of all that. So that was my desire, because to start this program, because first of all, I do believe that my grandchildren and their generation is a pivotal generation, and I'm not
hmm.
just saying that as a grandmother. They are a pivotal generation, because what we're doing now, it just isn't sustainable. And to give you an example, is I was in classrooms yesterday, and one of the classes, I said, "Well, do you know what happened Saturday?" And we were talking about the war. They knew about it, and they said, "We're so disappointed. We're so sad about it." So
Hmm.
children, we don't give them enough credit. They're brilliant. They're brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And this generation of our children and grandchildren, um, they're a pivotal generation. They're going to make a kinder world because that's the only way we're going to survive.
Yeah.
So that's why I started Life Ingredients.
When you talk about a kinder world and more compassionate world, in your
Mhm.
mind, like what does it mean that it's more compassionate and just more compassionate?
Yeah, you know what? It's what to me that means is that we're accepting. We teach our kids about perspective. And perspective is that everyone has their own experience. So we
Hmm.
teach them, hey, not everybody's going to think the same way as you do or be the same as you. And they have their own experiences. And through having this perspective, we teach them to be accepting. And it was so interesting. I was at a soccer game with one of my grandkids on Sunday, and these two fathers were battling back and forth about the refs' calls. And I thought, oh my God, will we ever get over this? It was just so crazy. I said to the one guy, I said, "Well, are we going to have a battle in the
Yeah.
parking lot afterwards?" And he just laughed. But, we get caught up. We're programmed to believe that we're right about everything and that we think we know everything. And that's
Yeah.
that's a myth. We don't know everything and all of that sort of thing. So a compassionate kind of world is where these children, instead of competing with each other, we
Hmm.
collaborate. We learn to collaborate, and we learn that, you know what? You don't think that way, but we could still live together. When I was about 35, my husband and I were working on a project. We both looked up this, trying to figure out what we needed as far as the numbers. And when we got done, he goes, "How'd you get that?" And I said, I got it this way. And we both looked at each other and said, "Oh, we don't think alike, do we?" So, and once you realize that, you can learn to become more accepting and more loving. And the way that you do that, becoming and making that compassionate world is to calm your mind down.
I love that. I absolutely do. I
Thanks.
I I was on your website and I saw your programs. You've got eight. I'm going to call them pillars. That might be the wrong word, but
Yeah.
eight things that you talk about. And one of them is thoughts and how
Hmm.
powerful thoughts are. Like,
Hmm.
what brought you to that? Because I do believe thoughts are powerful. And how do you teach it to kids?
Yes, these words, there's 8 principles. There are thoughts, calm, clarity, gratitude, guidance, observation, perspective, and truth. And they were like, one day they just came in front of me on a piece of paper, and I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do with these words? And I started practicing with them and taking a look at them. And I realized, because of all the studies that I've done in the past, that thoughts are the most important thing. They create who we are. How we think about ourselves is how we show up in the world. And how we think about ourselves is how we see other people. If you see them, jealous or, uh,
Mhm.
you know, uh, disrespectful or so forth, there's a part of you that's there. We show up as Deb Kelly, but Deb Kelly has lots of parts to her, you know. And
Mhm.
as I've understood these thoughts, I've realized, okay, that's a part of me, but I don't think like that anymore. And I literally say to myself, I don't think like that anymore. And it's hard because my kids are used to the old Deb Kelly, and I'm like, yeah, ma, right.
Uh,
But I go, no, I don't think like that anymore. And so teaching this important idea to children has been such uh it's remarkable because they look at it and they go like, what? What do you
mhm.
mean thoughts are things? Like, well, they really are. And then what is so amazing and that just blows their mind is I tell them they're not always true because
Yeah.
we have this mind chatter that is brought into our mind from all of our past, our old beliefs, our old
Yeah.
behaviors, and the mind chatter will say, like I'll say, oh, I'm going to start a diet on Monday. I'll say, oh, why don't you start it on Tuesday? My brain says this, oh, start on Tuesday. Let's have some brownies or something.
Uh-huh.
It's and that's a deep, deep groove. It's like a footprint in my brain that said, oh, you need to eat bread, cheese, flour, dairy, and all those things. And so I'm working diligently to overcome that thought. And each and every one of us has those deep imprints. But here's what's so interesting, why I love to work with children. Children don't have those as deeply. They have some imprints, because
Mhm.
they went from 0 to 6. They learned about, who their parents were and how life works and all of that. And then all of about 7 years old, they start to go, oh, wait a minute, I'm kind of in charge of my life. And they take
Mhm.
some of their old reactions and live from those places. And so, what thoughts is teaching them is to stop, take a breath, feel. Does this feel right? Does this feel right? Maybe not. And then respond from awareness. This is the key of humanity. We have to become aware, and
You
we do
know,
it through
I
our
I
thoughts.
I love what you're saying about that, and I just wonder, like, parents have a lot to do with this, parents, educators, people
Sure.
around us. How do you get the parents involved so that they know that their thoughts are affecting their children?
Well, let me tell you, that's a big call. We've started. We do have a parents group. It's called Hey Parents, or excuse me, it's called Hey Grown Ups, and we're focusing on teaching parents to parent themselves first. And it's a big thing, and we're working right now on programs to put that together, and also a YouTube channel that we're working on, to help support this kind of conversation with kids. It'll all be on the same YouTube channel, but
Mhm.
there'll be a part for parents, because what we found when we started working with the teachers is the teachers said, oh my gosh, I need this as much as the kids do. And then when some of the parents got on, they said, is there an adult version of this? And I say, no, there is an adult version, because we as adults need to fall back into our childlike wonder. We need
Mhm.
to look at awe. We need to look at, not everything needs to be perfection. There is no perfection. So why go there? And parents start to look at this stuff and then sit down with their kids, and you know the system is so simple. I tried to make it so simple. It's like plug and play. There's a few things you have to learn to do in that, but basically it's a 5 to 10 minute um space in your life, and maybe 15 minutes, or some parents, they start talking about life, and the conversation goes on, so they start these heartfelt conversations together. And what happens is the parent learns as much as the child does. And oftentimes the child is the teacher. When I entered classrooms yesterday, I had 4 classes yesterday. And I said to the kids, I said, I'm here and you think I'm the teacher, but I learned so much from you. And they just like,
Yeah.
wow, but it's true, because they're not so, um, the distractions of life haven't entered in their life as much.
Yeah.
And so thoughts are things, they're real, but they're not always true. And if we can teach that to our parents and our kids, we'll start looking at life with a little
What
bit more loving acceptance and kinder world.
what do you think the biggest challenges are as far as getting the parents involved? And, like, what are some of the misconceptions even that they have?
Oh, well, being a parent of 4 free-spirited children myself, and, I was, part of that tribe of women that said, "I can do work, and then I can have my own business, and I can do all of these things," and, we just feel like, we have to have all these things, and we have to make money, and we have to take our kids on trips and do this, blah, 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 and we are so bombarded with labels and routines and things that we're supposed to do as a parent. And most of it's a myth, and most of it is driven by our financial economy, by our economy.
Mhm.
Like, you know what? I don't always give my kids Christmas presents, and even my grandkids. And people go, "What?" And I'll say, "You know what? I can have them come over to my house. We play games. We have a good time. We have a meal. They get so much stuff. What do they?" And what I said is, you know what? I've given them things in the past, and in the springtime, I saw it going to the thrift shop. So we have to become more smart about things. It's like I have my oldest daughter. I think she's really smart. She didn't get caught up in, oh, they got to be in soccer, they got to be in this, they got to be in this and
Mhm.
that. They found one sport and they followed it. And that child now is 17 years old and he's pro am in the sport that he followed. uh, we got to stop all these myths and believing. And I just was in Switzerland. And in Switzerland, you know what people do on a weekend? They take their whole family, they go on a big hike, they have picnics, and they talk to each other, and they play games, and they have fun. It's like the other day when I was sitting at the soccer field, I just thought, man, how many years did these parents sit here and spend this time, watching soccer? Which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that. But how often would it be that, hey, next week all the parents are playing with the kids, and we're gonna play. So parents have so many obligations, Michael. They're just, they got to make so much money. They have to do so many things. They have to be perfect. They have to, have perfect children. Well, it doesn't work. And so they are robotic. They get caught up in this story. And we all do. I was as guilty of it as anybody in the world. I wanted to be a yuppie and make sure my kids have all the right toys and blah, 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 blah. And over time, you realize that doesn't work. It's not sustainable. And so for me to just like start to see these ideas, let's talk about, just having a calm day. When the kids come home, let's make a meal together. We don't have to have a huge big meal. Let's make a salad and have some fun and talk, and maybe afterwards play a game or draw, or realigning our world is
Mhm.
part of this. And that isn't going to happen overnight. So I don't know how many people are going to come to Life Ingredients, because that's what I see in my future is parents that understand what I'm saying. And it's a big shift. It's a big shift.
Yeah, I have to back up for 1 second because you have kids that are doing the pro am, or they've done sports when they grew up, and you talked about the parents in the stands and this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I haven't had a chance to ask anyone else this on the show yet, so you're the first. What do you think about participation trophies, where everyone gets a trophy after the games? I gotta know what you think about it.
I have this darling daughter, my oldest daughter. She is a guidance counselor for an all boys Jesuit school, and she really has a wonderful way of looking at life. And when she first saw those, she just blew up. She goes, "What is that about?" It's just the craziest thing. And I do think that it just isn't necessary. And it's the same with treats. Kids play a soccer game and they got to have a marshmallow or whatever. It isn't necessary. Go back to the car, have a drink of water. It doesn't create community. It's just, the parents are going, come on, let's go. No, I got to get my juice. I got to get my drink. We make things so crazily difficult. And yeah, I don't believe in those awards at all, at all. And I'll tell you how strong I feel about that. Kids will say, my
Please.
grandkids, I'll stop and see them or something. Go, did you bring me anything? I go, yeah, me. I brought you me you know and they've gotten used to that because time together is far more important than a gift. I went to Switzerland 2 weeks ago, and I didn't buy a thing for anybody except I needed a backpack, and I bought that, and I bought a scarf because I needed a scarf. But I didn't bring stuff to the kids, home. We had a nice conversation. We looked at pictures. We did, and oh, that's what Switzerland's about. We just
Mhm.
You don't need stuff. Look at the storage units people are making oodles of money storing people's stuff. You
Yeah,
know,
they are.
we don't need all that stuff.
Yeah,
So put the
it's
trophies away.
amazing, right? You get the storage units, and they're packed with stuff, and Once to me, once something goes in a storage unit, for the most part, there are times
Yeah.
maybe you want to put priceless art in a storage unit or something.
Yeah,
I don't know,
probably. Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
But do you want to put like 2 dozen old chairs that you're never going to see again? Or
Yes.
oh
I'm
my
with
gosh,
you. I'm with you. I try to purge like every 6 months because when I moved here, I had nothing. I tried to walk here from Ohio. I know it sounds crazy, but I
mhm,
had a midlife crisis, and I landed on my my oldest son's steps, and he was going to have a baby. And I said, "Oh, I'm pretty good at raising babies. Can I come live with you?" And my darling daughter-in-law allowed me to live with them for 2 years, but I didn't have a car for 2 years. I didn't have, anything. I showed up on their door with a pair of underpants, dog food for my dog, and my dog.
so I
So
got
I
to back up on that. You literally said you wanted to walk from where to where?
From Toledo, Ohio to Tahoe. I made it to St. Louis. I started too late in the year, but I started. What I really wanted to do was go to the El Camino, the
Uh huh.
Composta del St. James, or however you say it. It's a pilgrimage in Spain in the Pyrenees. It's a 500-mile walk.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was newly divorced and didn't have any money, so I thought, you know what, I'll just make my own walk, my own pilgrimage and stuff. So I sold everything I had, which wasn't much, and started walking across the Midwest. It was my own. My main name is Miles, and so I had made up little business cards that said "Miles Across America" because I
Wow.
knew I wasn't going to go way, coast to coast or anything. But what happened for me is it gave me some of the foundation of life ingredients that we're all the same. People loved my story because it was something new they hadn't seen. People invited me in their home. They had me stay at, I could tent in the backyard. I had my own tent as I went around, or they'd invite me to stay in their home, and they'd cook me dinners, put articles in the local paper. It was crazy. But I got to St. Louis and it was getting cold, and I'd been on my back sleeping on the ground, and I thought, maybe it's time to go, home. So, or go home. I didn't even
Uh
have a
huh.
home. I was homeless. And so I went to Tahoe and lived with my oldest son, and it turned out to be such a gift because we started working on his business. Him and his brother, and my other daughter, were building a paint contracting business, and I love marketing, so we did that. So that's what happened. That was 20 years ago, and I wouldn't give that time up for all the money in the world because it was right after Iraq, I think. And, George Bush said, go out and shop and do all these things, and
Hmm.
and everybody's afraid, and everybody, and I said to myself, I don't believe everybody's afraid. And so that was one of the reasons I went out too, to talk to Americans. And Americans, they're such wonderful beings, and we have such a bad rap, and that. But whether you're to the left or you the right, whatever, I sat on a farmer's porch one day, and he was far, far right. And we just had the greatest conversation. And when it was all done, he goes, I think you need a ride to the nearest campground. And pretty soon, this pickup truck comes with about 5 or 6. I guess they were all farmers. And they threw me in the back of the pickup truck, and we all went off to a campground. They said, we shouldn't be taking you to an airport. No woman should be walking like this across America. But, that's the kind of gifts I had, just to see the goodness in people. And that's part of what Life Ingredients is based on, is the goodness of people and the genius of our children and ourselves.
We're gonna have to bring you back one day and just do a whole walk across America. I'll invite you, and I'll bring back Renee Morelli and Brian Skillen, and he's done the
Yeah.
Camino walk, and then she's done like all kinds of hikes around the world. So
Awesome.
all
Awesome.
three of you, I'm just gonna sit here with my jaw hanging open, talking about like all the experiences that you've had. So, what in your mind was Life Ingredients there at any point, or um, and by the way, Renee, who's watching, says yes, we'll do that.
Oh, yes, Renee. I can't wait to meet you, darling.
Yeah.
Um, you know what? I didn't have a name for it or anything like that. But when my children were little and they were sick or they weren't feeling good, I would do the dream machine with them. And they say, Mom, I need the dream machine. And we would do, a process of calming the body down and relaxing the body and that sort of thing. And at one time, oh, I was probably in my 30s, and I thought, oh, I should do this for a living. I thought, oh no, everybody knows how to do this. I won't, and I should have started then because there's still a lot of people that don't understand the progression of calming your mind and your body. But yeah, I started with my own children, the dream machine we had.
Wow. What do you want people to take away from the discussion we're having today and about life ingredients? And you've got the world, you've got the stage, you got the mic, you're going to talk into it, and people are going to come around to your way of thinking. What is that thing?
I think that first of all, my kids always say, Mom, this is the longest you've ever stayed with something. And I said, it's my life's purpose, to support parents. When I was a parent, I just thought, gosh, I wish I had somebody that I could, get some advice from or talk to and that sort of thing. And that's what I want to provide parents first is a place where they can come and know that they can be completely comfortable. There's no judgment here. I mean, I someday will write down all the stories and the craziness that I did. And, I'm guilty of a lot, a lot of crazy things. And I just didn't know, you aren't trained to be a parent. And so to provide a place that's safe and makes people feel good about themselves and that, yeah, we make mistakes. It's okay. And the most important thing, and this, I had such a wonderful husband. I wish we would have known each other a lot better, but he died early and but anyways, that's another story. But one day I was disciplining one of my children, my oldest daughter, and I had her up against the wall and I'm, I heard him say, all you have to do is love them. He was in the other room. And the moment he said that, my whole body went into this electrical, like, and I thought, oh, I thought I was loving them. We have lots of different labels around love. And I think now it's taken me a long time to understand that. And that particular daughter and I are like oil and water. I think we're too much alike. But, anyways, um, but I have total acceptance now. I get it, and everybody has to do their own thing. And so if I can help parents learn acceptance, I
Mhm.
have a young couple right now and they go, oh yeah, my child's going to Harvard. I think he's 4 months old. And I'm like, what? I always tell my kids, don't bother going to college. I had one that went to college, the other three didn't, and they're just as successful. And that isn't necessary. It's a myth, and it's pushed again by our economics. Um, so, saying these things are kind of like to some people, like what So, I am a rebel and I am a renegade, but I do believe that the principles I have are built on love, and that to me is the most important thing. When we love our children, they can do amazing things. And just to give you a thought about this, when they asked prisoners, how did you end up here? You know what they said? I didn't feel seen. I didn't feel seen. We want to see our children. We want to be with them. And you know what's more important? To just sit down and listen to them. Allow them the heart to heart conversation. It's a
Mhm.
lot better than going to Disney. And I know I love Disney, but just every day. So that's part of it is for the parents to start to understand that this is a very loving way. And for the 5, 10, 15 minutes a day or a week or once a month, whatever they use life ingredients for, they're going to get a little bit depth of understanding around themselves and around their children, and it comes from a space of love.
That's awesome. I love everything that we have talked about today. You've brought up like enough stuff that we should do multiple shows on. We're definitely
Yeah.
gonna have to do some, John. participation trophies. We're gonna do stuff on hiking around the world. We're gonna do all kinds of stuff. But right now, I want to dig into more. We've got life ingredients, but I want to play a game with you called This or That.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you a question. I'll give you two choices. You can choose one or the other, but you can't choose neither. They'll get a little harder, maybe thought provoking. If you have to explain yourself, every once in a while, we can do that too. So
Okay.
let's play some this or that. Start easy. How about mindfulness exercises or physical exercises?
Mindful.
Okay. How about read aloud to children or listening to children's stories?
Listening to children's stories.
Yeah, they come up with some good ones.
Yeah.
Guided, go ahead.
No, I'm fine.
Okay,
I'm ready.
guided learning or self exploration?
Self exploration.
Ah, okay. Parent led discussions or child led discussions?
Child led discussions.
Uh, how do you get them to talk? If let's say you've got a child that doesn't really want to talk about their feelings, their day, the things that go on, how do you get them to do that?
I always I start like with something I messed up with as a child, like join the tribe. I know you're worried or you're concerned or, maybe they don't want to talk because they feel uncomfortable, they're not content or they don't feel safe. And I always start with something I messed up on, like, oh man, when I was a kid, I threw a snowball at the safety guard and I had to end up in the office.
Yeah.
And they thought I was a terrible child. And I said, well, she was a smart aleck. And kids go, really? And I do that in my classrooms when I talk to kids too. I tell them how I mess up because when we belong to a tribe and we realize that, we all are the same and sometimes we
Mhm.
mess up and in the long run, it makes us a better person. We become a little wiser. Like I don't throw snowballs at people anymore.
I do. I'm not gonna tell, but maybe I did. Oh my gosh. How about nature walks or classroom workshops?
Nature walks.
Yeah. About traditional schooling or homeschooling?
Um,
And
boy,
participation trophies.
that's a really hard one. What I'm in is traditional schooling right now,
Mhm.
and because I'm up to having us look at it differently. I think we need less time at school. I think we do need more time at school, at home, where parents can support their children in their education. But, we're America. We're not ready for everybody to be homeschooled. We need to be in a traditional school system, but we need to start working on understanding how thoughts work and how life works. That's the first things we should teach children. And
I
then
g
we can
I
teach
gotta
them the
ask you a question
people's.
about traditional schools, maybe even homeschools. Traditional schools, you go to school, you're there how many every hours you are, and then you
6
get
to 8
yeah, a
seems like.
lot. It's like a
Yeah.
job, right? So
Mhm.
then at the end of every class, your teacher gives you homework. What's your
Yeah.
thought about homework, and should it be given or not given?
Absolutely not given. It's
I
absolutely ridiculous. And that stems from the fact that adults don't think kids know anything, you know? We could be teaching college courses in high school, and we are. My
Yeah.
oldest grandson, one of my grandsons, is already in, I don't know if he's a sophomore in college right now, but I think he is, and he's 17. But,
Yeah.
he just moved on to the bigger courses, and he's in, a full-time college student and skipped all that junk. We don't need all that. We don't need to fill our brain. Like my granddaughter was over there the other day learning how to, I don't know, like you get the answer, but then you have to have like four different ways of doing it and finding the primes and all this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, get the calculator. That's all we need. We, you know. And the other thing I found that interesting is that when I was in school, we learned phonics and um, we had to memorize the
Uh-huh.
multiplication tables, and kids can't do that now. It's so fascinating to me.
Yeah. The
Not
one thing
all
like that
kids.
that gets me
I'm
is that they can't
generalizing there, and I shouldn't
yeah.
be, but a lot of kids just can't do them all, and it makes it so much easier when you know 6 and 6 is 12. It makes it so much easier.
Yeah, and
Um,
what happens if it's, like, costs, some weird amount and that people give you extra change and people don't know how to count change anymore?
No kidding.
right?
And those are things that we should teach right in the school, constantly teach them
Mhm.
and teaching how to raise children. And, I mean, I learned how to make a skirt and a blouse in school. It was a good thing, and how to cook. And they didn't have shop for girls. We didn't even have athletics when I was in school.
Wow.
Girls athletic. We had the Girls Athletic Association. We bounced volleyball back and forth, but we didn't have sports as girls know it today until about 2 years after I graduated from school. So, I mean, life changes, but some of the things we need to hold on to. Like my grandmother taught me how to sew, and I didn't teach my grandkids how to sew. And obviously, I don't think they need to. So, you know,
Yeah,
we have to look at the big picture. What's important?
I guess so.
Heart.
How about physical books or ebooks?
Well, I'm going to say ebooks because all of my books are ebooks and they are videos that we have asked children to come in and record the
Oh,
stories. And the kids can follow along with the words and they hear the words and they can follow along. So I think it's a very helpful way to support new readers,
okay.
and old readers can look at it and have fun with it and, that type of thing. But I don't think there's anything wrong with ebooks. And I also think we've built another myth like, oh, the screens are so terrible for kids. Well, look, folks, the screens are here to be there. It's the face of the future. It is now. And
Yeah.
we need to explain to our children how to use this wonderful, I call it the nervous system of the world. The World Wide Web can bring in the whole world right in your own yard, or your own bedroom or whatever. And there's so much wisdom there. But we're
Mhm.
an immature species. So we have porno and we have scammers and we have, what do they call them? Trolls. We have all those because those are the lower vibrations of our humanity. And we have to learn how to override those lower vibrations. And that's what Life Ingredients is all about. Elevating our space of vibration, elevating our beliefs and our ideas, and self-regulating and up-regulating our chemicals and that sort of thing. And so then we can look at things and look at a Facebook and say, that's a scam because
Mhm.
it doesn't go with you. When you're down here in the lower vibration, nothing fits. But when you're up here and you're in love and truth and beauty and goodness, you find the puzzle pieces and it feels right.
Yep.
So that's what we want to teach our children, to use this screen. And Life Ingredients is an excellent way of using good screen time.
Nice, nice. I love that. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to do some extra shows with you on some things.
I'm a
Um,
talker.
how about now you brought up the fact that you traveled by yourself, but I want to know solo travel or group travel?
Well, interesting enough, I did go with a group to Switzerland. I actually went there by myself and met a dear friend of mine who brought two of her friends who I never knew. So
Uh-huh.
I had the delicious ability to go solo to a certain part of it and then meet these amazing women. They were just the most amazing women. And so in the morning, I would get up and have breakfast with them, and they would get started. And they hiked like 8 to 9 miles a day. I
Mhm.
can't do that. I would, I was lucky. I think a couple of days I did 4 miles, because I had to get where I was going,
Mhm.
but, and then the evening we spent time together and we cooked, we took turns cooking and all of that. And so I at 72, I was like, oh man, I don't know. I'm a little bit nervous. Am I going to miss my plane? What do I don't speak the language. I don't, but you know what? I put myself in that space of clarity, just saying, okay, you know what? You just got to get there. And when I got there, my Swiss pass wasn't right. I didn't have the right money. All those things fell apart. But if I stayed in clarity and I didn't put in the drama, it all came together. So either
Yeah.
one is fine, I was really proud of myself that I got there by myself,
Wow.
but then it was great to see the group.
By the way, I want you to know that you are changing people's minds as we're talking. And one of the comments I just want to read to you, it's on our previous questions. Renee says, I would have said traditional books, but I've changed my mind now. So there you go, that
Oh,
microphone, and you're already changing people's minds.
thanks, Renee.
um, how about leading by example or leading by instruction?
I have to say example because, when I was raising children, I was the biggest judge and dictator. And they picked up on that. And
Mm,
I have to keep repeating to them, oh, I was really a judge. I was a dictator, but I want to be a guide. And so, no, I think they have to learn by example. And,
mm,
I'm working so hard to show them, I made lots of mistakes and I'm still making them, but I want to guide you in a place where you feel comfortable and loved and safe and content.
I love that. And by the way, I just want to mention out loud that you just glossed over 72. Like, yeah, well, I can't really do that at 72. And I'm like, gotcha. I understand.
It's those filters. It's those filters.
All right. How about emphasis on grades or emphasis on holistic growth?
Holistic growth.
Yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
grades are, you know, who makes up that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I
I'm
mean,
gonna guess.
when I was a kid, if you celebrated Columbus Day, and
Yeah.
I would have got an A plus for Columbus Day. But today I would have got an F, if I studied because it's the Native American Day. So, years ago, eggs were great, and then they went through and they were really bad, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, you can eat eggs again. We change our minds. Those grades are a waste of time.
Oh God, I love you. You should be my teacher. There we go. um, how about teaching children the reality of today or preparing them for the future we can't predict?
We have to be in the present moment. We
Okay.
have to prepare them for the future, and we have to look at the history, but we have to live in the present moment. And I have a great video about the present moment. And our piggies, our little toes, are always
Mhm.
in the present moment. But do we ever pay attention to them? No, you never think about your piggies unless you stub them, but your piggies help you climb the stairs. They help you skate. They help you dance. They help you play football. Your
Yeah.
toes are always there. They're always in the present moment helping you. And so I help kids try to understand the present moment by
Hmm.
taking them to their feet and like, it's always there. And so is the present moment. Your piggies and your is always in the present moment. And when you can push yourself into the present moment, that's awareness. And when we look at awareness, hey, like I say to kids, you're going to create a kinder world, but we have to start here, right now, in the present moment. So, can you be a little bit kinder when somebody answers a question in class? Can you be patient and not go, ooh, 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 you know how they do. I said, wait, because you know what? You're harming that person. You're making them nervous. You're stressing them out. You're making them feel uncomfortable. And they thought, harming them, they were thinking of knives and stab. I go, no, we harm each other when we make people stressful. So present moment. We got to
Yeah.
work on the present moment.
Awesome. Here's and speaking of present moment, how about mainstream media as a tool for learning or critical independent sources?
Who. I'm going to say critical independent sources. And of course, you can go, like I use Kindle, I use, regular books, I go to lectures, I do that. I mean, I'm always telling people research, research, research. And
Hmm.
you can use some mainstream things, but you have to go back to that space of, is this really true? And you
Yeah.
have to find in your gut, is this really true? Because some people, they listen to mainstream news and they believe it with all their heart. I have relatives that believe, hey, that's really true. They said it in the news and all of this sort of thing. And I say, oh, please do your research. But what I find out is their research goes to their belief systems. And what
Yes.
we have to teach children in school is how to research and to have an open mind and to evolve ourselves with that open mind. Because if we stay in our reactive mind, we're stuck.
Gotcha. I got one more for you. Nurturing the mind with knowledge or nurturing the soul with experience.
Well, I don't know that the soul needs experience, but I would go that route because, well, yes, the soul does. I mean, I think that's why we're here to make our souls stronger, by going to the school of earth.
Hmm.
Um, but what we teach in our program is a guidance system, and it's called the um, Good Powerful System. We all have that. It's your intuitive mind, it's your natural intelligence, it's your instinct. We all have that guidance system. Some people might even call it their God particle or the unified field, or, we just found it easy to say, hey, you have a good, powerful system, and we call it your GPS,
Hmm.
and it will direct you naturally in the direction of your heart and a good, healthy mind. And so I would say the soul, go to the soul.
Gotcha. Deb, you've been fascinating, and I want people to be able to stay in touch with you for sure. Um,
Thank you.
you've got your website, which is lifeingredients.com, but if you've got the slash thought box, tell us
That's a
what the thought
gift.
box is.
Yeah, that's a gift that I want to give your audience. The thought box, when you put that in, it'll take you to the page on our website, and you can download. I was just reading it here. It says download free guide to help adults and children control their negative thoughts. And it's adorable. I have a great illustrator, Kelly Dillon, who is studying to be a school psychologist, and she's another genius, and she has
Hmm.
created this video. We have lots of fun. We find science, and then we put it all together, and then we create these videos. And this one is a real cute one to help kids understand how to box up their negative thoughts.
Yeah, I actually
I like,
watched. I think that's the video that I watched on your site, and it starts out. This is Kelly, and I was going, wait, this Deb Kelly? No, and she's got like the best voice for reading.
oh
I
yeah,
love
Kelly
her.
Dillon. Yeah, she is. She's wonderful. Yeah, I think that's probably our intro or something. I'm not
Yeah,
sure what that one was, but yeah. In order to work for me, your name has to be Kelly.
gotcha.
No, just
You're
teasing.
also over on Facebook. You got facebook.com/groups/ Hey Grownups. And that's
Yeah,
all one word for everyone who's listening as opposed to watching. Hey, HEY Grownups, GROWNUPS.
thank
And
you.
you're over on Instagram. And the
Yep.
Instagram is a little, and YouTube. Number 8 life ingredients. 8 life ingredients over on Instagram. I'm going to leave your let people see this one more time for your thought box so they can get that. And for everyone who is watching and you watch all the time, you can find us on a funnywayoflooking.com. You can find us all over the web on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube at A Funny Way of Looking. And be sure to sign up for the newsletter so that you can uh, read more about Deb, learn more about her philosophies, learn about the ingredients and everything. So, with that, we're going to call it a wrap. Thank you so much for being here, Deb.
I just want to say you are such a professional. I'm just starting the podcast roundabout, and you have done such a beautiful job with your program. And I know you're just starting. You haven't been in business very long, and you have put together a wonderful team of people. Caden did a great job keeping me tuned in and all of that. And I've decided that you're my new best friend, and I hope that we have
Uh,
lots of conversations on here and off,
we
because you're just a wonderful human being. And I just wish you the best success and continued success. And thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, and shout out to Caden. Caden keeps everything
Yeah,
rolling along.
you're awesome, Caden.
All right. All right. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next time on A Funny Way of Looking. Here we go.